So here's the little tease that I did a week or so ago. I know you've seen this, may or may not have seen this all over YouTube and social media and blah blah blah. There is this thing, and it's really cool, where you have sort of a prompt, an idea of some stuff that you can do, whether it's what color you want to use or what images you want to use for your art, lots of things like that. And there's also this thing called a commonplace book. Commonplace book is when you find when you find quotes and sayings and thoughts and things that are important to you, and that you maybe want to put in a journal or a planner, or you want to keep on hand. Well, I'm kind of combining these, and I'm creating, I want to call it a spark, because I want to think about, if I can't think of a color combination I want, maybe I can do what I'm doing here and put one together already that I have decided I like the way these colors go together. So I will make sort of a palette. So that's what I'm doing, and this is addicting. Oh my gosh, it's addicting. So I took Tombow markers and made some palettes, and here is what inspired that first palette. Now this one is backwards because I did this first, this prayer journal, and then pulled the colors off of that. So here's another one that I did with the Tombow markers, and like I said, these are addicting, you guys, and I always put the number with it, and then I make sure that I remind myself that these are Tombow markers, not any other, because I've got a couple of other types of markers, but these are the Tombow. And again, here is I like to name them, so that one I named Explore. So here's another one that has a lot of these colors in it, and there's a few colors on here that I did not put in that color scheme. The other thing I want to do is remind myself to use stencils, because I have stencils, but I have them stuck in this baggie tucked away on a bottom shelf, and I forget that I have them. So I thought, well, if I put some stencil patterns on here, then I'll remember that I have them. And when I get stuck with what else do I need to put on this page, or what else do I need to put in here, I can look through this box and go, oh yeah, I've got stencils. What about those stencils? I did not do every stencil I have. I probably will go back and do that and then organize, and yeah, not today. So again, this is just a reminder to help me remember what I have and what options I have. So I also am doing them all in the same color, and that made me feel like maybe they would make more sense. So these are Mondo Llama paints from Target. Target used to have a brand called Handmade Modern that I really liked, and these are good too, the Mondo Llama. So I thought I would do just a short selection color palette on these. I have a lot of them, and I want to go back and do some more of those color palettes that I can pull from. And I want to do this little spark box with lots of color palettes from or from maybe even all of the paints and the other products that I have, the other media. These I'm naming, this kind of turned out to be, I think I want to name these about summer colors or seasonal colors. And that one reminded me of summer, and especially August. And this one I was playing with, and I was thinking about doing July, but I didn't want to do your normal red, white, and blue, but I still wanted those bright, fun colors. And again, these are the Mondo Llama colors. And I just go through and pick out colors that I think will look good together, colors that I would use literally, and I put the color name on the little swatch, and then the brand on the side, and then whatever I've decided to name that color palette as. Because color palettes, when I name them, really help me think about that, how I want to use it, when I want to use it. So these are Ceramcoat. These are matte paints, craft paint that I adore for using in my art journaling, my prayer journaling. Because they're matte, they don't stick together at all. So again, I'm just doing a couple of swatches from these just to give you an idea, and then naming them, putting the name or somewhat of the name on the swatch, the name of the product on the side, and then whatever I want to think about calling that palette, I'm putting at the bottom. And this color palette I actually really liked because it reminded me of a kind of a modern but subtle color palette, which I thought would be really pretty, just for fun. When I mentioned the Commonplace book earlier, and it is a book or, 3 by 5 cards or whatever you want to use to write down quotes, thoughts, information you've heard that you want to be able to refer back to. Well, that is where I'm changing this up a little bit with prompts and inspiration for what you want to put on a page and things like that, because for the most part, I use scripture to inspire or to, kind of be that jumping off point for the artwork that I do for Artful Faith devotionals and Artful Faith prayer, obviously. And, I've got this other Bible, and it is just filled to the brim with sticky notes and washi tape and markers and all of this stuff in it, where I want to remember what is on that page, what verses I saw, what I wanted to think about, that sort of thing. So instead of doing that, I decided, why not put it in this little spark box that I'm creating? And what I'm doing is I actually just went through and put the tabs in ahead of time so I could find these verses. But I'm writing down the verse, and these little cards you can get, they're half size 3 by 5 note cards, and you can get them at Staples. Walmart sometimes has them, and they come with either blank or lines on one side. So I have both in that little box. I have the ones I'm using right now with the lines, and then I also have the ones that you'll see in a minute that are just blank. I also am using what you saw me cutting at the beginning is watercolor or mixed media paper and mixed media art paper, and that's what I was using to do the markers and the watercolors that I'm going to do in a minute, things like that. So the idea here is I'm writing down verses that I want to remember, that I know I'm going to want to go back to and use them as a prompt for a piece of artwork, for an interpretation of that art, because that's how, for the most part, I understand and learn from scripture, is through art. And I'm using 2 different color pens because sometimes there's like the first part of the verse and the second part of the verse, or sometimes, the verse starts with he said blah blah blah. Well, when I put he said, I'm going to use a different color, and in quotations or in parentheses I'm going to put God, so I will know that it was God talking, because I'm taking these verses not out of context but out of where they are in scripture. So I want to be sure I'm relevant and realizing the he that said it was God, or the he that said it was Paul. So I'll have that reference when I'm pulling that to create. So the idea here is I will pull out this box, and it is by no means a complete, I've got plenty of room in this box for more stuff. But when I get stuck, when I figure out what I want to do, I will go back and I will pull a scripture, or I will pull color. It basically gives you a chance to pick and choose some things that you want to do without having to come up with everything off the top of your head. And having a prompt or a little spark is always a great way to get started, so you have sort of a stepping off point. I also decided to do a segment or a session on, not a session, section, there's the word, a section on different types of media like watercolors or pastels or let's see, what else is there? All kinds of stuff. Whatever you're using, I decided to do that. And these are not color palettes. These are basically just reminding me, oh, I can use watercolors, I can use scribble sticks, I can use water-soluble crayons, I can use colored pencils. So again, when I'm in that process and working and I'm like, I don't know what to use next, I always use acrylic paint, I always use craft paint, I always do this, it will give you the idea, the option to go, okay, I'm stuck, what else do I have in my arsenal that I can use? So one of the things I'm going to do is below in the channel notes, I'm going to drop a link, and I will share with you the list that I came up for all of these things, like for media and for mark making and for colors and different things like that I use. So that might help you get started with your own box if this is something you want to do. I dug out of my stash of craft supplies and scrapbooking stuff these cool tabs, things, whatever you want to call them. Of course, they're white on top, and I couldn't have them be just white, so I pulled out the Tombow markers and started coloring the tops, because now I'm about to put this little spark box together. I'm using these to put the section headings that will go in the box, and coloring them, of course, and I kind of wanted to make them match the box a little bit, so I pulled out whatever colors I had that were close to the prints or the images on that little box that I have. That box, I think I got that at Michael's a few years ago. So they kind of match, they kind of look okay, but I really like the black on them. So now I'm just writing out the section headings and fighting with the little paperclip parts. So use your own section headings that you want, however you want to use them. I know I'm going to come up with some more section headings, and then I'm going to be in real trouble because I don't have any more of these cute little tab things. So I'll have to find something else that will work with it. And like I said, I don't even know where I got these, so it's not like I can probably come up with any more. But that's okay. It's not a big deal. Just happens. decided I would also do a little tab for doodling and for doodle patterns, but I kind of didn't do any patterns yet. I'll go back and fill that in. So these are the half 3x5 cards that I was telling you about that you can get at Staples or sometimes at Walmart, especially this time of year during school supplies, you might be able to find them. And I'm just putting them together. I'm not putting anything on the cards themselves, just affixing them. And I've already sort of sectioned out my colors. So now it's time to lay these in the way I want them to go. And as you can see, I have a lot more cards that I get to fill up. And I have a feeling this is going to be kind of an obsession, and I'm probably going to go into, hey, let's do seasons 2. Yeah. So there you have my little system of what I'm going to be doing. I hope this works for you. Maybe try it. You might like it.